Hey everyone! Happy Valentine's! Oh my goodness, it's another Valentine's Day. But that doesn't mean to say that love does not exist on any other day besides Valentine's Day, February 14th. Love's supposed to permeate throughout the year, every day of the year, every second, every minute, every hour. Okay? So happy Valentine's Day to everyone. And I want to thank everyone for being here, especially my speakers, my panelists. And if you have been following us for the past few days or week, we are going to be talking about now that. And if you happen to still be hearing me, I hope you're still hearing, though you're not seeing on the stream. Of course, this is live using technology. Good, so I'm back. We are using technology, and I have no control over this. So if anything happens, please continue watching, continue engaging. I will ask my speakers, my panelists to keep talking, keep having the discussion going until I come back in. Everybody's going to be online. Everybody's going to be sending love to everybody, whether near or far. So, it's going to be a lot of pressure on the bandwidth. So, we are talking today about now that's love. Yes. And the focus is not to be negative, because every time you talk about love, I want us to come here with the lessons that we have learned from our experiences, whether our own personal or persons that we know, that we can bring those lessons to the table to show persons what they really need to look for when it comes to love. That can be love with your parents, love with your child, love with your co-workers, love with your spouse, love with your significant other, whoever that may be, male, female. It doesn't matter. Love with your neighbor, okay? Love for yourself, most importantly. Love for yourself. Because a lot of us are not really being honest with ourselves. We are not really being honest with ourselves and think that we do love ourselves. But as we go on today, you will hear, I am sure, because I'm not going to be stopping anybody from saying what they want to say. This is an open, raw session to be able to really bring home the point for you so that you can recognize love in all forms, colors, size, shape. Right here, you can recognize it going forward in your life. Okay? Because we want you to know and feel and recognize what love is so that you know if the other person or other people or situation, circumstances is really giving you back what you deserve. Okay? And not what you think you should get and accept and tolerate. Okay? So we are coming from a different place. So I'm going to be bringing on my panelists who are here right now. There are two more that are supposed to join us. I'm waiting on them. In the meantime, we're going to go right ahead. So we have Eve. Oh my God, isn't she beautiful? Isn't she?
Hello. Hey, you can't tell me I'm beautiful. You're beautiful.
Thank you. I could tell you because I'm beautiful. So I could tell you you're
That's
beautiful.
true. That is true.
True. That's true. That's true. So she's beautiful. She's going to tell you a bit about herself a little bit later. This is just an informal session, and everybody just vibes in for the next almost 2 hours, 1 to 2 hours. Okay. And she's also talking to you from where? Tell them.
Brighton, England. Very cold, very damp, very grey.
Oh, so sorry for you. Over here is very warm, very green,
Shut
very
up.
bright.
I don't want to know. Shut up.
That's love. That's love.
That is love. That
That's
is love.
love. And let me bring on the other person, Julia Robinson. Julia is a darling. All of these people that you're seeing and you will see have been guests on my show, Between the Lines, my podcast. And I always look for many other opportunities to incorporate my guests in what I'm doing, whether it's workshop, conferences, things like these, the one-off sessions, just to bring them before you again in a different situation for you to see who they are, how they fit in, what they're talking about, what's going on in their life. You're really minding their business, actually, and see what's going on. So, Julia, tell persons where you are calling in from.
I'm calling in from Latvia, which is in the Baltics, which is North Europe. And I'm from England, and I know the weather in England is a lot warmer than here. And yesterday, one of my friends, a Latvian, said, "Wow, it's got so warm outside. It's only -1." So
You're like a superhuman.
yeah.
That's
It's
what you
only,
are.
We've been in -15 as
just
our.
Whoa.
It's nice.
just only -1.
Only -1. It's so
Well,
warm.
let me tell you, only. Well, let me tell you, in the Caribbean, we know nothing about temperature. We just know it's warm, it's hot, it's chilly, it's rainy. So we don't do the temperature thing. We're like, oh
It's
my God, it's
true.
hot. Isn't it humid? Isn't it cold? We don't do the temperature thing. Okay? So we're good. We're good. So I will invite you guys over to the warmest place on the earth and the most beautiful, of course, the Caribbean. Just to say,
Of
with love.
course. Of
With love.
course. I'm on my way. As soon
Yeah.
as this is finished, I'm getting on the plane.
So, ladies, we are here and we're waiting for Elliot Katz and Judy Shinlong. So, Elliot is going to be the only man in the room. So, I'm going to ask you before he comes in to be kind. Be kind. Now, remember the title of this. No, that's love. Today's Valentine's Day. Let's treat him nicely and be nice to the men, okay, that will be listening. Okay? All right. And be nice to ourselves. So I want to
True.
start off with a quote that says, when people show you who they are, believe them. I'm sure you've heard that quote. When people show you who they are, believe them. I'm going to start with Julia because she starts in her thinking mode. Her hand is already here. So I'm going to start with
Yes.
Julia. I can see right? She's leaning in. I can see she has a thought. So Julia, let me repeat that. When people show you who they are, believe them. Now remember the perspective. No, that's love. What has happened with you, for you, about you, around you, that you can put yourself in that situation where somebody has shown you who they are, you recognize within yourself. Now, I know we have to talk a little bit of the negatives for us to be able to really seal in the positives. So you may share what the person or persons, because there will be more than one, would have done or said or whatever it may be. And you recognize this cannot be, but what it is within you or in your mind or wherever it resonated that you recognize, no, something is off, something isn't right. And you realize that's not how love reflects or manifests itself. Share with us.
Okay, the first thing that comes to mind is that we can't ever really see other people. We can only see a projection of ourselves. So once in a while in that projection, we have a flash through and we get to see another person the closest we ever can. And sometimes I see that you've kind of posed it in the negative, and I have had that experience. I once fell in love with an Argentinian man. I was living in England. I flew across to Argentina for a date. And as soon as I got there in the airport, after 30 hours of travel, I had a big no. And I felt it. I thought it. I felt it. I sensed it. And I just traveled 30 hours across the world to see this man. And I rode over that. And it was a very painful relationship after, there was a certain point where we have to believe in ourselves and our own vision, even though we're projecting all of the time. When we see the negative in other people, it's the negative in ourselves, etc. But once in a while, and I was only thinking about this morning, what could I have done instead? 6 weeks in Argentina, maybe I would have met a man who I could fall in love with. You know, like to have the courage to follow our feelings, to have the courage to feel our feelings when they're not in this super Hollywood, everything's going so perfectly. Oh, thank goodness my life has suddenly got on track again. Oh my goodness, now I'm not a failure, I'm a success, and covering everything over and actually having the courage to just be who we are without wanting to be anything else. And when the other isn't what we want, is just accepting them like that, or accepting that we can't be with them like that.
Hold on, Julia. Hold on, Julia. Oh, you said a couple of things here, and I know Eve's mind is going. But I want to jump in before Eve, because I know when Eve jump in, what happens. So hear what? Julia, you said a couple of things there. You said projection. Now, for persons who don't understand, I want you to remember this question. I want you to try and clarify what projection means, that we project ourselves. You said you went on a date. Now, this is not at a Starbucks right around the corner. Okay, Julia? Julia, I just want to get that clear. This was not, you know, you just walk around or you take a taxi. Okay, Julia, you said a date. I thought you were going to say, well, we were going to get married, you know, and live together happily ever after. And you traveled to Argentina. You said a date, Julia. What was in your mind?
What was in my mind?
What was in your mind? No, don't answer it.
No.
Don't answer it yet. What? Don't answer it yet. No, don't answer it yet. What was in your mind to make you? Unless, of course, you it was really marriage, but you say it's a date. It must be, because for you to travel for a date, 30, what did you say? 30 hours, not 30 miles, 30 hours, right. And when you got to the airport, you heard no. Julia, right, Julia, explain it. Thanks.
Well, we had been Skype dating for about 6 weeks beforehand, and we had just been completely into each other over Skype. This was before Zoom, and you know, Skype was the thing. And we spent hours on that thing together, laughing. But reality and Skype is not always doesn't always pair up, you know. But I went to go on an adventure, and it was an adventure.
It must, 30 hours, it must. And projection. Come back to the projection. Explain to people what you mean by projection.
Well, in the Jungian psychology, I have a master's in Jungian psychology. Projection is when we have an image of ourselves, and then there's things about ourselves that we can't accept. We can't accept about ourselves. And so instead of saying, for example, I am a failure, let's say I can't accept that I am a failure. It's absolutely fine to be a failure. And actually, personally, I don't believe that you can fail. You know, like, what have I learned here? What have I learned here? You know, but say we were brought up in a family where you weren't allowed to be a failure, and you felt like a failure. You can't accept it. So what you do is you take it and then you push it onto someone else, and you look around and you find the nearest person who could be a failure, and you say, he's a failure. He's a failure. Why did you do that? What have you done that? Why? How can you accept that? Blah, 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 blah. And then that makes me feel like a successful person. Wow. So the projection is pushing out onto the world what we don't accept about ourselves, which is basically what we do in a relationship.
Eve, jump in here. Jump in here. Has that projection thing happened with you? And I'm getting from Julia that she's saying that relationships that we get involved in, like the Argentinian one that she spent 30 hours, the date, that she realized that she selected someone that she projected on. Is it that every relationship we have, that is what is happening to us? We're seeing like a mirror image of ourselves. We're looking for that type of person and then end up in crap. What is happening?
Well, first off, I just want to salute you for your spirit of adventure, madam. I mean, that's pretty impressive. Most of us struggle to go to a brand new supermarket to get food. So the fact that you
Well,
were
how
willing
can
to...
you find where your vegetables are in the supermarket?
Right. So you're willing to travel 30 hours to trust yourself and trust your heart and trust the adventure. I completely salute that. But for me, the big moment was you heard no. And we all have that inner warning, that red alert, that something that says, even before you got on the plane, you had it. Sometime during the Skype call, you had it. And
Yeah.
it amplified itself right at the moment when you're about to meet him. You've still got, it's like when people are getting married to the wrong person, and they're at the doorstep of the church, and in their mind they hear a giant turn around and run away now. And they go, I spent all this money. I've come all this way, right? So they go ahead and they commit to the decision they made instead of trusting their heart, trusting their gut, trusting their spirit, and saying, no, something's off here. But I still salute that because you wanted to see it play out. And we learn and we grow through walking through that mire and that muck. But I love the adventure. Yeah, for sure.
So why do
And
we
I have
need
to
to see it
say,
play out? Yeah, go ahead, Julia.
in that relationship, I mean, of course, it was. We tried to make it magical, to cover over that underneath it wasn't going to work ever. We created this huge magical thing, and we believed it both for about 6 months, even though I didn't. I didn't believe it, but I wanted to believe it, and I thought if I keep believing in it, it will happen. And then shit hit the fan. And that was the gift of it all, because that was when I learned so much about myself that actually it was a really successful relationship in the long term.
Why does this shit have to hit the fan? Why? Why? I mean, why do we have to get to the point of the shit hitting the fan, the no, the turn around at the door? You're hearing the screaming. Your intuition is actually screaming. It was whispering at one point, and then it reaches, get out, run. Why does it have to reach that point? Why? Tell me.
Well, I'll give you an example from the quote that you gave, which is when somebody shows you who they are, believe them the first time.
Yeah.
And it was in my first relationship. I was with an older, slightly older man, and he was very possessive and very jealous. And the first time he slapped me across the face was the day that, as I was 17 years old, and I'd come from a background of violence in the family.
Wow.
So the first slap was the warning. It's like, get up, walk out, remove yourself from the situation, and don't engage any further in the relationship. But because it was very familiar to me, there is a way that abusers have a way of making you believe that you caused it. Why would you make me so jealous? Why can't you be so different? Because I didn't have the self-esteem at the time to know that I deserve better. I didn't listen the first time. And as Julia so rightly says, 7 years later, after a very interesting relationship that taught me a very powerful lesson about life and relationship. I could look back and say that relationship was to teach me people can't hurt you unless you give them your power. And on that day, I gave my power away, and he took it, and boosted by that power, then managed to use it to manipulate me for the next 7 years. And getting out of that relationship was me saying, I learned the lesson. I'm taking my power back. It doesn't matter what it takes. This is it. And so you can believe them the first time, but you don't get the lesson.
Yeah. And you were talking about Julia's 30-hour flight. You stayed 7 years. Come on.
Yeah, but that was that was in the same country over time. That built up. Yeah.
That built
Yeah.
up. Yeah, and I like what you said there, Eve, about it's familiar to us. And and it happens to all of us, even to myself, and we don't realize it at the time until we take the time to go on this journey, an inner journey, to realize, let me look at the history. Let me just take a little back step. Let me just take a little breather to see the trends, what's happening. And it's not only in your personal relationships, it's also family, because it starts, where do you get to learn everything? It's from your parents. It's from your home, because you come out not knowing anything, and everything you know and what you have been exposed to is from your parents. So you have to go all the way back to try to figure it out. And we know about epigenetics, or we should know about it. So even in the womb, these things are even happening, that we are unaware of that influence who we are when we come out of the womb. And so, it took me some time to realize the toxicity that has been in my life. And this is what is causing me sometimes to even push people away, or to draw in the wrong kind of people, because certain things are familiar. But I recognize it, and I'm like, Corinne, you're going towards the familiar. Open yourself to the unfamiliar. And when I use the word familiar and unfamiliar, let's put it in terms that people are used to. My type. That's not my type. That's not my type. And that's what we say. And from the time you say that's not my type, that's the cue. That's the cue to say to you, the little ringer that's supposed to say to you, oh, I'm going to the familiar. I'm going to what I'm used to. Because you're looking for that. Any thoughts on that, Julia?
Oh, lots. So I think there are two, obviously there are millions of types of relationships between lots of different people, and lots of different loves as well. There's the agape, which is like the pure love, the philia, which is love between friends or brothers. There's the family love, the charitas, I think it is, and eros, the erotic love. And in any relationship, we can choose to enter in love or fear. I think that's basically our only real choice in life, to reflect what is happening around us with love or with fear. And therefore, it feels like there are then two large branches of relationship, which is healthy to healthy, and the large majority are wound to wound. So you're talking about how we're born into toxicity or wounds that have been passed down through the ages from different families, different situations, different betrayals, different fear-based relationship. So we pick up with all these fears, and these fears then take us normally into a state of codependency, which society portrays as love. It's not love, it's fear-based relationship, which we confuse because we're having sex with the person as romantic love, or because they're our parents as family love, or because there are friends as filial love, but they're not. They're like wound relationship, which then is called codependency. It has three places to be in. You can either be the victim, you can be the savior, or you can be the perpetrator. And there's two people, and they play around all those games. You know, either I play, how can you do this to me? How can you do this to me? I've been in that role. I've been in all roles. Why did you do that? It's like, well, because I gave my power away. I mean, we've all given our power away at some point, because this relationship is this play between I give, I take, I give, I take, and trying to find this balance in the middle that's healthy. And often we flip off into other places. I've also been the perpetrator. Why did you do that? You did that wrong, and in my heart, I feel like I'm loving them to make them better. But I'm just actually being horrible. Or savior, this is my superpower one. The savior. I go in. I will save you. Do not worry. Here I am. You will not leave me because you will need me. You will need me.
Julia, Cape and all. Cape and all. The Wonder Woman
Red
band.
tight.
Come on. We have won it. The Wonder Woman band with the cape, honey. We're looking good. We're coming in with the S on our chest. We're ready. We're ready.
This man is on the floor. He can't do anything with his life, but I'm going to make him into a Superman.
You're going to change him. You're going to make him into a better person. Yeah, you'll be that power couple. Everybody's going to envy you guys when you step out there. Come on, Julia. We got this.
I have done.
Eve is laughing. Come in now, Eve. Eve, jump in there.
I love it. I absolutely love it. Just the idea that if this is about now what's love, it really is about what love is not.
Yes,
so love is
so far.
So far.
We are experts on what love is not, and we discover what love is by looking at its opposite. And I was chatting to this guy yesterday, and in the conversation we came to this sort of beautiful moment of recognition where he said something to me, and it just triggered this thought in my head. The ultimate love, as what you would call agape love, or the love of God, or love that is unchanging and never ending. The insight I had that love is both completely impersonal and deeply personal, so it is not attached to outcomes, to ideas, to concepts, to right, to wrong. It's just this overarching, unchanging feeling that we can experience as humans of being completely, truly, unconditionally loved, no matter what, by something that isn't engaged in our personal dramas. And then it's also deeply personal because we feel it as our individual selves. So it's like this marriage between the impersonal and the personal. And what we're trying to do, it feels to me, when we're out here messing things up and trying to save each other and piss on each other, piss on each other's parade, excuse my French, is that we really are trying to create a distorted version of that love. This idea of this overarching, magnanimous, unconditional love, especially with parent-child relationships. They can be the most toxic relationship, either direction. Your children can be toxic and narcissistic and bullying, and never mind the parents doing that. But it just feels like it's this muddle of what real love is that we're all trying through our broken humanness to create an experience. Bless our cotton socks.
There's a wonderful phrase
I'm seeing Dara saying good afternoon. I just want to acknowledge her presence, paying attention
and
watching
Dara.
us. Hey. Right. But what you're saying there is deep, Eve. Very, very deep. And, let's like you said a while ago, what we were bantering and talking about a while ago really is the opposite. And we are supposed to be focusing on what's really love, but it's really opposite. And it's that unconditional. And I'm wondering if people really understand what unconditional means. Because you're not supposed to try to change me. You're not supposed to make me, take the Play-Doh and form me into what you want me to be. Or just like how Julia was saying, come in with a cape and the Wonder Woman bands and try to save anybody. Because the fact that you see, to me, that you see the person needs saving is also coming back to that projection and mirroring, because it's probably something you need to save within yourself, why you feel by saving this person is going to make you feel good about yourself. It's all about you feeling good, feeding that ego and feeling that you become a complete person. And that leads me now into what, the focus really of what we are talking about, love. And it comes right back full circle to us. Because if I don't love me, and if I don't decide what I deserve, truly deserve, okay, as a queen, as a woman, as a sister, as an employee, as a neighbor, as a daughter, as an aunt, as a niece, if I don't know what I truly deserve, how I am supposed to be spoken to, respected, etc., then I will think that I will accept or allow or give permission for other persons to tell me what I should accept, which is what has been happening. So how do we come back to ourselves, the center of the attraction? Because we are the center of the attraction. We are the gift. And I listen to R.C. Blakes Jr. that keeps a pastor in the States that keeps reiterating, men think they are the gift, or we give men the feeling that they are the gift. We are the gift, people. We are the prize. We are the prize. Yes, you're nice, but we are the prize. I don't know your thoughts on this, but I'm putting it out there. We are the gift and we are the prize. Okay? And so we need to love ourselves as the woman. Since the man, Elliot Katz, isn't here yet, it end up with just ladies. I did not plan this, people. I did not plan this. So don't think it's a woman power thing. The man hasn't showed up. Okay? He hasn't showed up. I just sent him a message to remind him he hasn't showed up. And I don't know what's happening with Judy, the other female speaker, but we're here. I tell you, the universe is working it out. So coming back to the point, what do we need to do to show love to ourselves first, to recognize love in ourselves first, before we can start venturing? Because a lot of us rush to be in relationships with others, thinking it will complete us, it will fill that hole, that thing that we are seeking in somebody else is what really we should be seeking for ourselves. Julia, let me start with you, Miss Adventure.
I think there's a difference between finding love in ourselves and loving ourselves. So going back to what Eve said before, and if we substitute here, it's because it rhymes in Argentinian Spanish. There's a phrase that's Dios es donde vos no sos, which is God is where you are not. And I would say the same about love. Love is when we get out of the way. So when we stop being our egoic selves, we can then find love in us. And until we click into that source, and it's not very difficult. It's not like this huge esoteric thing where we have to levitate in a chair for like 5 hours a day. But it's more like when you paint and you lose track of time, or when you do anything that you love, you lose track of time and space, and you are simply not being you. You are simply being. I believe that in meditation, when we meditate and we actually feel love, when we feel ourselves becoming love, is normally when we're not being us, when we're not being me, Julie Robinson. But when we connect with that love, we can then begin to love our own ego so that it's softened, so it's not so dramatic, so it's not so savior or so perpetrator or so victim. But when we're able to love ourselves, it softens so that we can connect with that, as Eve was saying before, the universal love connects then with our own personal love. And when we can do that, and it's concurrent, you know, it's not like A, B, C, but it's all over the place. Then we are able to love. And it doesn't necessarily mean love a person, but it just means love, be love. And in that circumstance, and this is for me, the ultimate, and it's not very easy to do, which is why I was saying before, I think the huge majority, in the 90% of most relationships, are wound to wound. But in the relationship that I would call a holy relationship, so that's why I'm mixing love and God, because I think that basically, I believe it's the same thing. I believe God, whatever concept you have of God, is love. And
I
when
totally
we are
agree.
not being us, we become love for everything and anything that comes into our sphere, which means that actually it doesn't matter what the other person does to us, because no one can do anything for us, to us. We are the center of our film. And if we do a film of sunlight, it will blow away the clouds.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. God is
Beautiful.
love. And that has always been the case. God is love. And if you really want to know, I truly agree with what you're saying, Julia. If you truly want to know what love is, it's that relationship you have with Him. Eve, I want you to continue what you were saying there a while ago.
I just think that's
Yeah,
absolutely beautiful. Beautifully put, beautifully said. And then to add
yeah,
to that, in terms of ways you can begin to recognize when you're totally in your egoic story, is the power of awareness, which to me is another aspect of love. So when you
yeah.
cultivate greater awareness and self-awareness in particular, then you can begin to recognize, hold on a minute, there's a running commentary going on in my mind,
Right.
and 99% of it is negative. When you're
Yeah,
really not in self-love,
yeah.
99% of the commentary about you, about the world,
Yeah.
to you, is putting you down, berating you, telling you somebody else is out to get you, telling you somebody that you're not strong enough to deal with it. It's negative, negative, negative. And
Yeah.
it's a gift, because once you start to become aware that this voice is a negative voice, and I know love is all about loving unconditionally, accepting all.
Yeah.
Whenever this running stream and commentary is going, it's my gift to remind myself that I'm in the midst of an egoic brainstorm, and I can create and cultivate a space between that madness and who I really am without the ego, as you say, Julia, not Eve, not Kareem, who I am without all of that. And I can observe it, and every negative thing it says, I can practice by saying, what's the opposite of that statement?
Mhm.
What's the flip
Here's the,
side of that?
here's the thing, Eve and Julia. We're talking some high level stuff here that may
Mhm.
go over people's heads because people are in a sort of rat race. They're just trying to survive. They have their kids, they have to wake up in the morning, make the breakfast, do the this, do the that. If they're single, like me right now, I just put it out there, so in case anybody's listening, they know that I'm single. Yeah, so, right? So, you're single and you're doing your thing, you're running your business, whatever it is that
Men
you
are
do.
running to your house right now. Men are running to your house. Get ready. They're queuing up
Can I
outside.
tell you? Can I tell you there's a wedding happening right outside my door. So if you happen to hear
Well,
music
you're late for your wedding, Kareem. Get off the interview.
there is a wedding. Okay, it's a sign. It's a sign. Okay. Yeah, but we are talking some high level stuff here with people who are busy, caught up in their lives. They're all about just doing the routine, whether it is for their kids, whatever, in their work. So to take the time, because the journey, the path that you guys are talking about, that I have also been on, yeah, is and still on, because you never hop off that journey, you never hop off that train. You're always on that train. Everybody may come on and come off, but you are on that train permanently. So it's you're asking persons to stop and really smell the roses, to just pay attention, to just listen, to just be silent, to just, as you use the word meditate, you talk about awareness, you talk about consciousness. That takes people having to stop. And everybody's just going like this. And the whole
You're frozen. You should step in, Julia.
Well, I'm desperate to step in. I think that the one of the big bridges between daily life and the ability to stop is forgiveness. Is stopping instead of reacting, is actually going into how to forgive. And for me, forgiving is actually, because of this projection thing, is forgiving ourselves for what
Preach.
we feel the other person is doing to us, because it's what we're doing to us. And to forgive that in the other person, which isn't the other person, forgiving it in us, it frees us. It frees us. It has freed me. This week I've learned something that's so big. So I'm in a women's circle, and I have created problems in the women's circle. But I didn't realize it was me, Of course it was the other people doing this and doing that. And, why? How could they have done that and this and that? And then I've defended myself and
Yes.
and I got to the point where I thought there's no solution to this. And as an experiment, purely as an experiment, I decided, okay, because I'm a person with many opinions. I don't know if you've noticed.
Oh, just similar over here.
And so I decided to not express my opinions, but more importantly, to not oppose others' opinions. And it has been life-changing for me. I've realized that I like myself more. I realize I'm less afraid what the other people think of me, because I haven't opposed them.
Yes.
And it also made me realize the other people have the right to be who they are. He's such a huge one. Like,
Huge.
on a different path.
Yes. 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 Completely.
And I
I
think we can do that in
completely agree.
relationship, Allow the other person to be who they are.
Yeah. And there's something that Kareem was talking about this idea of it being, there's no time to stop and there's no time to look. But one of the things I know for a fact is, if there's something that you need to learn, you will get stopped. So if you don't take time to smell the roses, either you lose your job, you get a health condition, so there's a family, death in the family.
You're in bed.
Yeah, you will be forced to stop by yourself, by your own consciousness, because you've been ignoring everything that says you are not taking time for yourself, you're not loving yourself, something in your life isn't working, you're continuing to pursue something that you don't want to do. And it's really important that you stop and begin to cultivate greater self-love. But then to tie it to what you've just said about, I'm in this situation, I could so relate to that I would be in a group like that, and I could feel myself just go, oh dear God, what, being in judgment basically, and having a running commentary of judgment and blaming them. and thinking my way was the right way, and of course the most conscious and the most aware. And I'm just an arsehole.
It's the only one, to be honest. I mean, look here, this book here. I've written this book, and it's called The Silent Well, The Absurdity of Judgment. I wrote it, and I continue to do it. It's like, wow. You look at yourself and you think, wow, I can't believe
that is brilliant. That is brilliant. Did you think to pick it up when you were in the middle of the...
No, of course not, because I wasn't in judgment. I was just being right.
What did I miss?
Oh, hello, madam.
Oh, we were talking about forgiveness and forgiving others for what we perceive they've done, and stopping. And there is a little thing that I wanted to say about. There's a psychologist called Martin Seligman. He started positive psychology. I love it. There's a real simple technique that we can all do. Just stop each night. And it is writing 3 good things that happen to us each day in a diary. 3 good things. But what's really important in that is how I was implicated in it. How I was involved in the good thing. Like, for example, I saw a beautiful flower today, and I was able to stop to see it. It's not just there's a flower, it's like how I engaged with it, or how I had a beautiful conversation with a friend because I was able to listen. And it starts to build up this self-love of, I am actually okay. It changes a little bit the dialogue that you were talking about before, about this, we're washing up and saying, you're fucking shit, and when you're going to fucking sort it out, Oops, I'm not sure if you're allowed to swear.
Just because I went across to the wedding, I left you all for a few seconds.
Did you find your man? Did you find him?
Not yet. But anytime you see me get bumped off, is because I went to the wedding. Okay, I just
got to dance, get it out.
I can't even remember what was the question I was asking. Did you all get where I was going and be able to answer?
Absolutely.
Yeah, you were trying to ground it. You were grounding it into daily people who are in a routine with the family, and how does that's where you're at. But I don't know where you're going.
No, where I was going is that where do they find the time to meditate, to take the time to slow down, to understand themselves? Because it does take that time. It takes taking time away from the busyness, taking time away from the person, the circumstances, even zoning out, if you want to use that word, at your job, with your families, a sort of mechanism. What would you suggest the persons to start acknowledging or seeing the need to taking that time in order to be even better for themselves, so that they can start attracting the type of love that they deserve? Because it is clear that, based on what Julia had said and Eve had said earlier, that we are projecting and we're basically looking for the familiar, because the familiar is what we are used to. So we are looking for that, as opposed to realizing, hey, hold on, I need to deal with these issues. I need to deal with these traumas. I need to deal with these wounds. But you have to first acknowledge that you have traumas. Because if you grow up in a well-to-do home, both parents, they pay for you, everything seems nice. Every other child on the block envies you because you have the parents they want for themselves. You're being driven, you have a chauffeur, you go to the best schools, nothing is wrong with you. You're perfect. Nothing is wrong with you. You have the best life, until you start realizing there's a pattern in your relationships, a pattern at work, a pattern in your business relationships. And if you are able to recognize that, because some of us are walking around with this egoistic chip on our shoulder, feeling that, hey, we're all that, and it's you, Julia, it's you, Eve, it's you, whoever. It's not
you. It's not me. It's you.
Yeah.
That's right.
We went through that. And we also addressed certain elements of what you're saying now, because I said, if you don't stop, life will stop you, right? So you could either do it for yourself first by,
Yeah.
if you're super busy, uh, giving yourself the opportunity. A great book is The Artist's Way. I would suggest people read Julia Cameron's The Artist's Way. It's a fantastic book that very much like what you shared, Julia, about taking the day to write 3 things and how you engaged in it. The Artist's Way encourages you to wake up every morning and write 3 pages of stream of consciousness to just get the crud out of your. And if you think I don't have time, your 3 pages could be post-it notes. If you think you do have
Yeah.
time, your 3 pages could be a journal, right? The size of the paper
Yeah.
could be that. So you
Yeah.
can't give yourself any excuse to not take 5 or 10 minutes every morning to just write out your stream of consciousness. And part of the gift of the Artist's Way, it also encourages you to take 1 date a week where you go and do something that you love. So if it's, for example, you've always wanted to play the guitar, then you go to the guitar shop on your date and buy guitar strings. That will be
Yeah.
the first thing. It won't take you long. But because you're doing the stream of consciousness thing, what starts to come out of the
Yeah.
writing
Yeah.
is little
I
inspirational
like how you
things.
mentioned that. Doing things for yourself is also very important. It's part of the whole self love. A lot of us say, I always wanted to do that. I
Mm,
always wanted to do that. And then you sort of think, oh my God, I wonder what Eve will think. Julia
mm,
might think I'm crazy. No, I'm too old for that. I shouldn't be doing that at this age. I shouldn't be, and you sort of, all those limiting beliefs, all those thoughts start coming in that you shouldn't. When those are really things that are in you, deep in you, that wants to pour out, that is
mm,
part of love for yourself, and that can probably attract the right partner or people or family in your life, because family, I'm sure people will understand by now, is not only blood. Family is us, me, Eva, and Julia here sitting here. Persons
mm,
that you connect with. That is not persons who, and I don't want people to get me wrong, it's not persons who agree with you, because we can disagree on
mhm,
things, but we have a certain level of consciousness and respect for the other person, that we can acknowledge that, hey, I don't agree with you, but I see what you're saying. And probably over time, I might even start
mm,
agreeing wholeheartedly with what you're saying. It's
mm.
it's a very important thing to do.
Do you notice every time you're in a stream of speech, Karine, you're freezing? Your turn, Julia.
Well, I don't know why this has come up, but I think it's because we're talking about family and relationships, and
Mm,
family relationships are the very difficult relationships to change, along with relationship of money. Our relationship with money is a difficult one, which it's all the same really at the end of the
mm,
day. And I have been quite an unusual person in my family. The rest of my family are very conservative, and I'm the opposite. And
mm,
while they were expecting me to find a bank manager as a husband, become a successful executive, have a house, a big car, and 2 children, and I
mm.
ended up being a writer.
Yes,
It's completely different, no
yes.
children, series of boyfriends, and a series of countries, a series of
Yes.
living experiences, which I personally have found deeply gratifying, and I have enjoyed all of it.
Mm,
But my parents and brother had a completely different view on that I was basically being a troublemaker, and why won't you
mm,
settle down?
mm,
And my brother actually did stop talking to me for about 4 years. My father stopped talking to me for a year. So I had this idea that they won't love me um, until I become. I'm noticing that my glasses are like
mhm.
they won't love me until I become who they want me to be, and I'm not going to be it. So we're in a stalemate. And I was here actually in Latvia, and my friend, I was crying, crying and crying and crying. Why are they being so horrible to me? And for the first time ever in my life, she said, "Your family are treating you like shit." And it was such a relief to have
Oh
it
my
heard.
God.
It wasn't a nasty thing.
No, it's a
It was just,
revelation.
it was almost
Yes.
heart opening. At last, I am not
Yes.
crazy.
Yes.
The next day, we were talking again, and she turns around, she says, "But you know who the problem is?" And I was getting ready, like, is it my dad?
Wow.
Is it my mum? Is it my brother? Who is it? And she says, "It's you." I went, "Oh, this is just annoying me, this light here." That's better. It's you.
Yes.
And I was like, she says, "Maybe you're projecting here." This famous projection thing. So I started to realize, wow,
Wow.
I am not accepting them until they are who I
Yes.
think they should be. And I'm holding my
Yes.
love because I want them to be someone else. And so I changed it as an experiment again. I think these experiments are great things to do. Glasses on, look. That's better.
Hilarious.
So I started to accept them as they are, which is not like me. Accept their path. It's a little bit similar to what I'm saying about what happened this week with the women in the women's group. Accept that they're on their path. I accepted my parents that they're not like me, but that doesn't mean to say they don't love me. And lo and behold, I realized they had been loving me for years, forever. I had been blocking it. It had been me blocking. I mean, there was a time when I felt like, it's not 50-50. It's not black and white, all this.
Yes.
But they had worked through it. They had given up on me, being their perfect, whatever they wanted me to be. And it was me blocking.
Holding on to that old perception.
And when I let go, I have a great relationship with them now. It's a real relationship. It's not an illusional one. It's not like mum and dad are going to be amazing. It's just like my mum and dad are people who I have good conversations with.
Yes.
And I know what to share, what not to share. They're not my ideal parents, that the little infant child wants them to be. My dad's not an astronaut, actually.
Yes.
He's retired.
Yes.
And my mum's not my mum's not an amazing artist who is like she's a housewife, and it's like
she doesn't waft about with inspirational quotes. Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. But she did put on her swimming costume today to try and sit in some frozen water.
Wow.
But she's chickened out, she said, but she wanted to give it a go.
Yes, people, I was at the wedding once again, and I see Elliot has just decided to join us. Let me bring on Elliot.
Fella there, Elliot. Typical fella.
Hi.
Hey, Elliot.
Hello, Elliot.
Hey, Elliot, how are you? Thank you for joining us. We ladies have been having a wonderful time without you.
But we're glad you're here now. Yeah.
Yes, we are. Yes, we are. And I saw
And
you were
we have all promised to be very kind to you, Elliot, as well.
I know, and I was the one who gave the instructions, and here I am not being as kind. Sorry about that. So, Elliot, seeing that the ladies were taking over before, and you are here as the only gentleman, we are waiting actually for one more lady to join us. But until then, we're going to give you some time to talk about No, That's Love. But before that, tell us a bit about yourself and where you are calling in from.
Well, I'm calling in from Toronto, Canada, and I've lived here for a long time. And I'm very honored to be invited to be part of this panel. And it's Valentine's Day, so I thought we'd talk about relationships because that's what we think about on Valentine's Day. Mm-hmm. So as some of you know, I wrote a book about relationships. It's a relationship advice book for men. and it's called Being the Strong Man Who Wants Timeless Wisdom on Being a Man. And it was the result of my own journey. I was married and divorced, and like a lot of men at first, well, a lot of people, first I blamed the other person. Then I came to the point of asking myself, you know, what do I have to learn from all this? I don't want to go through this again. So I set out on a journey to learn, what does it mean to be a man in a relationship? What should I have known that I didn't know? And at first I talked to other men, and I realized a lot of us are confused. Then I read books on relationships. I didn't really, they didn't really answer my questions. And it was only when I turned to the teachings that men have written down over the centuries that I was really blown away, because it really answered my questions and it gave me the insights that I was looking for, things that I wish I had known while I was married. So today being Valentine's Day, I think it's important that we should all think about how we could do better in our relationships. I was just reading something yesterday where it said, you know, if your girlfriend or wife says, "Oh, don't buy me anything for Valentine's Day," and it says, "Well, then," listen to her, don't buy anything or anything. But she says, "We're not responsible for death or dismemberment." So the thing is, it's really important to.
Elliot, I love that. I noticed that when you said, if your wife tells you don't buy her anything, I saw Julia's head going like this immediately. I wanted to join that chorus, but I said,
Right.
no, let me let Julia do that. But I was actually agreeing with her. If a woman tells you don't buy me anything, please ignore that. Say, okay,
Absolutely.
darling, okay, sweetie, but you still get something for her, because she's actually saying, yes, honey, I want something, but she's being modest. Okay, you have to understand the language of women. And I like how you came in, even though you missed part of what we were saying, but you actually fell in line with everything that we were saying so far about understanding, taking the time to understand. You read books and that didn't help you. You had to go back to the men of the past, whichever men that were, in order to understand who you were and what is expected of you in marriage. And I want you to talk a bit about that, because we are the ladies here. We can only come from a female perspective and try to understand the man, which is why I have you on to help us to have that conversation with you as a man representing the guys here today. So in the perspective of, no, that's love, not something negative, but we know that understanding the bad part will help us understand the good part. But we want to come from a place of positivity so that we can recognize love moving forward. So you're the man today, Elliot. You're the man. You're the man.
Okay. Well, thank you very much. So I think what you said, Corrine, is really hits the nail on the head, because a lot of men today are really confused, and you really have to be understanding of them, because today men hear all kinds of negative things about men, about toxic masculinity. The word toxic was the word of the year in 2018.
It still is.
Men being accused of being controlling, abusive, all these things. And, there are some bad men who are like that, and that's terrible. And I think, we see what's happened. They've kind of destroyed their life. But most men, and really all the men I know, they want to be good husbands. They want to be good fathers. They don't want to be toxic. They don't want any of that. So they want to be good men. They want to be good fathers and good husbands. And they're puzzled, like, what do I do? I know what not to do, but I don't really know what to do. And there's this sort of very much confusion. Like I was saying earlier, like I'm talking to other men, and like we're all confused. We're really not sure what we're supposed to do. And so, a lot of men will just say, oh, here, I'll just step back. I'll just do whatever my wife tells me to do. I'll let her make the decisions. Yeah. I'll let her take the lead on things. That way, no one can accuse me of being controlling. And they think they're being nice guys, and they don't understand that, a woman doesn't want to always wear the pants in the family. She actually wants a man who can wear the pants sometimes. Is that right, Corrine?
Please. I am begging. Please.
Exactly.
I actually don't want to wear the pants, Elliot. I love wearing pants regularly, and normally, but I want to be in my feminine state. I want to have a man there that I can look up to and be like, damn, you're my man. Oh my God, I would follow you. I want to feel that. I want to be around that. And I think that's what women want, that when they look at him, it's like, damn, rip your clothes off kind of thing. It brings out a sort of, a sensual energy to a woman when they're with a man that they can look up to, and it's like, God, I am so happy to be with you. I love you more. That's what you want. That's what you want.
Absolutely.
But when the man says to you, "Oh, I'll just wait till the woman do it," no, no, no.
Karine, we should work together on promoting my book, because these are exactly the things I say. That when a man says, "Oh, I'll just do whatever you want," you make the decision. And he thinks I'm being this nice. He's being this great non-controlling guy. And I tell him, as one woman said to me, when a woman always has to tell a man what to do, it makes her feel like he's a child and she is his mother, and she doesn't want to be his mother. And not only that, she doesn't want to be intimate with a child.
That's incest. That's incest. Isn't that right,
Exactly.
Eve? Isn't that right, Eve?
Why are you asking me, madam? What would I know about that topic? I know nothing.
So
Yeah,
that a lot of men just don't. But they really think. I mean, I coach a lot of men, and they think, I work hard. I bring in the money to pay for things, and they do. They work very hard. They want to be good providers, and when they come home, they say, "Oh, I asked my wife, what should I do?" And I do it because I want to be a good husband. I want to help her as much as I can. And I said,
Yeah.
that's good, but it's not enough, because, for someone who just, does whatever the woman of the house tells him to do, well, that's really being a nanny. That's not being a father and a husband. You got to help her, because especially on your little kids, it's a lot of work. But you got to know what's going on in your family, see the problems that need to be dealt with. Step forward. You see a situation that needs to be dealt with, your wife's not dealing with it, take it on. Like, do some research, find an answer, talk to your wife. Like, I think this is the way to solve this problem. And then you can discuss it with her. Or maybe you don't need to discuss it. Maybe it's something she wants you to deal with on your own. She doesn't want you to bother her. That's being a man. That's showing your share of leadership. That's what I tell men. Show your share of leadership. Don't leave everything to her. Don't be controlling. It's really a balance. It's like the one who just does automatically what his wife tells him to do, or on the other hand, never listens to his wife.
But here's the thing, Elliot. We are all broken. Nobody's perfect. We are all broken. And we were talking earlier as women that we have our own issues because we don't know either, and we are learning. We all came out from parents, and it's what we saw is what we are working with. And as we go along and we start to become more aware and recognize that something is happening here, something isn't connecting.
Right.
I'm seeing a trend. So we as women have our own issues. The men are also struggling in their own way. We have expectations of the men. The men have expectations of the women. We are waiting to see, what you would do. They are waiting to see what we would do. So everybody's just waiting. Everybody's just expecting the other person to do it. That is a chaotic situation. So how do we come together, working two people? Me and you, Elliot, we're getting in a relationship. You're broken, I'm broken. How do persons start showing love to each other, to help each other, to grow to the point that we can connect on that level? How do we start growing in the relationship? Because I don't know if I think people wait till they're sort of perfect,
Right.
In their mind, perfection. They have everything, all the ducks in a row before
Right.
they go into a relationship, not realizing you will never have all your ducks in a row. One little duckling will wander off somewhere and you have to run it down, kind of thing. So how do we realize that we need to work on ourselves, that we are coming into something as two individuals trying to meet at a particular point, trying to agree or at least agree to disagree at a particular point, and meet the man, the woman meets the man, or whatever the sexual encounters may be. And
Right.
how do we move forward with love in our minds, in our hearts, in our soul? How do we move forward?
Okay, that's a great thing. What you've talked about is really so in line with what I talk about. So you talk about how people look around, they look at their families, look at their parents. And for men today, a lot of men don't have a role model. They grew up without a father, or their father was hardly around. He was working all the time, or he watches television and sees men portrayed as buffoons. Where does he learn? But the other thing is, like, we tend to blame the other person. When we're not really sure, we think we're doing the right thing, and we blame the other person. If only the other person would change, then everything would be better. And like, you could read all these self-help books and you recognize all your spouse's problems, but you don't see yourself. And that's really the challenge, is to say, okay, well, blame doesn't matter, because blaming her, you're going to wait for your spouse to change. You could wait decades. It's not going to happen.
Yeah.
You got to look at yourself. How do I have to change myself to get the response that I want? How do I have to treat my wife so that she'll respond to me the way I want it to respond? We just talked about Valentine's Day. Think about it, like, well, first, definitely buy her a gift or flowers on Valentine's Day, but every day think about, what does she need? Like, does she need, a lot of men don't realize that wife, every day she wants you to make her feel special. She wants to give her a compliment, tell her how much you appreciate all the things she does. Men don't need it that much. Men like to be appreciated, but they don't need it as much as a woman does. Man, if you give him a compliment once a month, every 2 months, he'll be happy.
What did you have to do? What did you have to do, Elliot? Because you mentioned earlier that you, as a man, you recognize what was happening with you, and you had to go deep within, or start doing some work on yourself. Share with us your personal journey as a man, what you had to do.
Well, it's sort of, like I was telling you before, I was married, then I got divorced, and there's a lot of men who are divorced who, like myself, we thought we were good husbands, we thought we were good fathers, and it's only, hey, so maybe we have to look, first we blame the other person. I said, what do I have to learn about myself? And it's really, like I tell you, looking at the writings from over the centuries, and really one of the writings that, well, just from the last century, that really struck me, and it's interesting because I bought this book at a used book sale for $1, was Dr. Benjamin Spock, right? Dr. Spock, he wrote a book on parenting.
Of course, Captain Spock, of course.
He was one of the best. That book was one of the best-selling books of the 20th century, like 50 million copies sold. And he says, because in those days, fathers weren't mothers, they were fathers. And he says, if you want to be a good husband, a good father, you have to be a leader of your family. And I read that. I said, you know what? I wasn't the leader of my family. I thought if I just did whatever my wife wanted, she'd be happy. And then when she wasn't happy, I thought if I could just find out what she wants me to do for her, she'll be happy. But the more you try to please her, you don't really please her at all. She really, she wanted me to be a man. And I realized, and it was really, that was like the first step, realizing, well, I got to learn how to be a man, who's a leader, who shows his share of leadership. And I start reading about leadership. I said, well, what is leadership? It's talking to the other person the way they need to be spoken to, not the way you want to talk to them. See, when you're talking to your wife, you think, what does she need to hear? It's not what you want to say. What does she need to hear? And really, that really set me on a path of learning. Like, she wants you to make decisions. I couldn't tell you. I've been coaching a lot of people, and single women will tell me that, a man asks them out, and, would you like to go out Saturday night? And she says, yeah. What did you have in mind? Oh, I don't know. What do you want to do?
Yeah.
I tell them, you do
typical.
that. That's a major strike against you. You can't even choose a place for a cup of coffee. How are you going to handle these, challenges that come up in marriage and family life? If there's a decision to be made, when you're married, and this is a common example I give because everybody can relate to it, is, your wife calls you at work. What would you like for supper? Chicken or fish? And he thinks, why is she calling me? I'm so busy. Whatever you make, you're a great cook. Whatever you make, you decide. And he can't understand why she's fed up.
A passive approach. But here's what, Elliot. How did that, as a man, affect your ego, knowing that you
Can
had...
I ask Elliot a question, Kareem?
Of course you can. Of course, Eve.
Okay,
go.
Because it's a universal thing for me. When I'm of the school that masculine and feminine, they're just constructs to me anyway. So as much as I understand, I'm trying to pull out the common thread so I can really receive your wisdom. And so what you're saying is that greater trust, greater vulnerability, and more open and honest communication is at the root of it, rather than I need you to be this or I need you to be that.
Well, okay. That's a very good question. So if you say to a person, I need you to be this, I need you to be that, that often doesn't work. I think it's really realizing within yourself how you have to change. I've seen that a lot. You say to the person, well, stop doing this, do this, or, it often doesn't work. It's really about looking at yourself and saying, well, how do I have to change myself to get the response that I want?
Mhm.
If a man is one thing that I talk about is, because a lot of men tell me this, their wives are, putting them down or really treating them badly, and they just laugh it off. And I said, well, like, if you laugh it off, her respect will just go down, down, down for you. You have to change yourself. You have to decide within yourself that you are worthy of being treated well. And if you just decide that in your mind, you just won't let it happen, because I'm entitled to be treated well. I'm not going to just let this myself be treated badly. So it's really about your own personal growth. One thing I say in the book is that it's a mirror. The way the other person treats you is a mirror, and it's telling you how you need to grow, and and you've got to see it that way. And very often, like one person said to me, you have one girlfriend and she treated you this way, and the next girlfriend treated you the same way. It's like, well, what's the common denominator? What's in common here? Did they collude with each other? No. It's like they're responding to you, and there's a lesson you need to learn.
Yeah.
Does that answer your question?
Yeah, I think that brings us all onto the same page for
Onto the
sure.
same page. That's right.
Yeah.
Julia, is there anything you want to ask Elliot? Seeing that
I've
Eve
got a
stands
little story to tell.
Oh, nice.
I was traveling and we were in Australia, and I was there with a friend, and a friend had fallen into a friendship with a woman who I'm going to call Anne now. I can't quite remember her name. She had beautiful ginger long hair, and they were both heartbroken, and they were talking to each other and helping each other through their heartbreak. And she told him, I'm always treated badly by men. And he was like, how could that be? You're such a lovely person. You're so nice. How could you ever be mistreated by someone? And of course, they got a little bit closer. And there was that philios between them on my friend's behalf, that he loved her as a friend, but she had started to develop an attraction to him, which so it comes to New Year's Eve, and they lived in Bondi Junction in a flat, which was the 13th floor. They were in their early 20s. They'd already got drunk in this household with 10 other people. They're all in a lift, and Chris decides, my friend, he's going to jump up in the lift, and the lift gets stuck. And he's so drunk that by the time they're waiting for the firemen, he collapses on the floor and vomits. That's the level of his comprehension of the world. And she bends down and kisses him.
Oh,
The firemen come. It goes down to the ground floor. The fireman says, you're going nowhere, Sonny Jim. You need to go back home. You're not going out tonight. You're too drunk. He's like, oh, what a relief. I can get rid of this woman. She says, I'll stay with him.
no.
He's just too drunk and he's too young to cope. So both go upstairs. He decides he'll go straight to bed and straight to sleep. He just kind of avoids the whole situation. He wakes up and she is riding him. Now that, if it was turned around, is rape. But he said, it didn't, it was okay, it was okay. And I just let her finish, and then I went back to sleep. Next day, she starts treating him like their boyfriend and girlfriend. And he was like, no. But the more he pushes away, the more she comes on, the more and he's my friend, he's a heart friend. He would not hurt a fly, this guy. He's a nice guy. The guys that you're talking about, Elliot, the ones who want to be the good husbands, the ones who want to have a nice life, he wants to have a good relationship. She's pushing him and she's not listening. Basically, the story is about not listening until he gets to the point where he has to be incredibly verbally, not physically, but I'm sure other men could go physically with it, out of the frustration he has, to be incredibly verbally violent to her to get her away. And he then gets clocked up on her list of men who have abused her. And I feel from that story a little bit what you're saying, Elliot, and all of us, is that we create in the other what we're expecting. And that until we change, we will keep attracting, not even attracting, creating the situations that we haven't learned yet. Which goes back to what we were talking about before you arrived, Elliot, about Eve was saying about how we need to become self-aware. And until we become self-aware, we're just going to be in the same gerbil. Not saying gerbil, but gerbil. What's it called? The gerbil
wheel. The wheel. Yeah.
We're not going to become gerbils, but we'll be in the gerbil wheel. Well, we might become gerbils even.
Julia, what you're saying there, Julia, before you jump in, Elia, Julia, what you're saying there is so significant. And I translate it as the fantasies we create in our mind. We create the relationships. It starts happening to us very early, especially when the emotions, the feelings start rolling around and you see, oh, this could be the person. And you start projecting again. You start seeing, oh, the children, the house, the picket fence, the travel. You see it. And the expectations come from that. And so when the guy or the girl doesn't do the things to match that movie, that fantasy, is like heartbreak. It's like, you are doing me something, you know, and people, as you said, they don't listen. And I think even if they're hearing, but they're not listening, which is a difference. And even if they're listening, persons are saying things to you, but you are hearing it in a different way. You are hearing it in the way you want to hear it. You are hearing love from the person, no matter how badly they treat you or how they try to push you away. You are hearing love because you want to be with that person. You have created this fantasy. You have created this movie that has to play out. This is how the book ends. This is how the movie ends. There's a trilogy, even a whole mini series. You know, you have created it and put this character with you in there when the person don't even want to be there. My God, that is a mind job. And I know we all have been through it. I have been through it. And you have to kind of pull back, recognize. Sometimes you go through it for many years, end up with children in it, living together. You slide, you know, kind of slide into the relationship, thinking it's a relationship. And the person goes along. They end up being with other people while with you. And you're like, how could you do that to me? You know, a sort of victim thing. When the person was like, I never really said I wanted to be with you. I never said I wanted children. We never discussed this. I never said I wanted to live here. I never said we were exclusive. And you've gone in 5, 10, 15, 20, how much? 30 years with this. That's a mind job. Elliot, you want to say something? Elliot, go on.
No, you're absolutely right. It's really a decision to say I'm entitled to someone who treats me well. I'm not desperate. You know what? The behavior you're describing is someone who just clings to someone who sort of lets them into their life. No, we have to decide, and it all comes from within ourselves. We have to decide. I'm entitled to be treated well. I'm entitled to someone who wants me. And who I want. I was just talking to someone who's married 5 times. His 5th marriage. Has been married like 20 years, but the first 4, he said, that he was, he was adopted, and he felt abandoned. That his parents had abandoned him, and he said, any woman that wanted him, well, that's who he married, because he wanted someone who wanted him because he felt so abandoned. So, well, yeah, you want somebody who wants you, but it's got to be more than just that. You've got to make sure you want them and they're right for you. Them wanting you is not enough. And 4 times he was married and divorced because of that. So
but he needs to work on himself. The fact that he has abandonment issues is something that he needs to work on himself before he goes into something else again.
Right.
Yeah.
So he told me he worked on it. So he 4 marriages later, on his 5th marriage, he says he's been married 20 years to this person, and it's a wonderful marriage. So he worked through it. But the sad thing is, you're married, divorced, there's children. It's better work through your issues before you get married.
Yeah, and that's
Could
what
I
we
add something in?
Yeah, go ahead, Julia.
I think there's a danger when we talk theoretically about relationships, and especially how to be in them, that we create unachievable expectations. Because relationships, to be frank, are not easy things. And they're not going to be, I want this. This is what I know I want. You're not going to get it. Most of the time, you're not going to get what you think you want or what you think you need. We're going to always get what we need. And part of working on ourselves is not, I understand what you're saying, Elliot, with that I am entitled to being treated well. Personally, I have a little bit of I would prefer to say I am worthy, not I am entitled, because entitled is almost, for me,
semantics, isn't it?
It is semantics, and
No,
it is,
you're right.
and it could also be cultural differences as well. But I'm worthy of this doesn't mean to say I'm going to get it, but I am worthy of loving myself. I am worthy of wanting myself. I am worthy of being able to provide this for myself and be with people who I like. Is also totally ideal, because sometimes we're going to hate ourselves and hate the people around us and want them, quite frankly, to be dead. It's one of the big problems of being a parent. It's like you love, but you also detest your own children. There are times when every single person would like their child dead, if only for 5 minutes. Just give me a break, It's not like we'll work on ourselves and life will become miraculously wonderful. I think what happens is we work on ourselves and we're able to deal with frustration. We're able to deal with not getting what we want. We're able to deal with accepting that someone's treating me badly right now because they've got a problem with themselves and not taking it on.
Yeah.
I think there's I'm only saying that, Elliot, because I am a real dreamer, and I dream of this perfect prince who looks maybe a little bit like you, but you're too far away. Well, that's not really true, is it? It's probably closer than Argentina. But I'm dreaming of an ideal prince who has this ideal lifestyle, who's going to give me an ideal lifestyle, and I will live happily ever after. I'm setting myself up for expectations that will never be achieved. And then I'm going to take it on as I am not worthy of a relationship, another relationship failed. And I think really to get a relationship, we have to be more honest with what a relationship is.
Well, this is why I wanted to come in, because I really, what I'm loving about, if we're demonstrating what love really is, this is 4 different viewpoints, all saying the same thing from our unique perspective. And so even when I'm listening and I can hear exactly what Elliot is saying, and if I took it and just removed the word man and said there are expectations, there are ways I'm expected to behave in society, there are things that people have projected on me how to behave, I'm trying to navigate it all because the world's constantly changing. And then I can listen to you, Julia, and I can hear unrealistic expectations cause more harm than good. And I completely agree with that. But I have also seen in my own life that increasing my self-awareness, increasing my levels of self-love, increasing my levels of discernment means I don't attract the same kind of people anymore. As we've all said, once we've changed from the inside, what we attract into our life is a mirror, but it's a more loving mirror. It's a more nurturing mirror. It's a more balanced mirror. So we do evolve, we do grow, And we do have higher expectations in the sense that we're cultivating our own growth. And so what we then require from a relationship, we're not just blindly saying it must happen to me. You realize you're a participant in that. And together you attract another co-creator who says, I want to be an active participant. So how you navigate problems, you do it much smoother, much simpler. There's less attack, there's less drama, and they resolve themselves quicker. There is absolutely evolution that happens. We do become better mirrors.
Yeah.
You know, Eros, the god of love, is fickle. And I mean, you know, we dream in the perfect relationship and love don't equate often, you know, but we dream in the ideal relationship there'll be a constant love. But Eros is fickle. It's just a human thing that we don't constantly love. We're not evolved enough. If we were evolved, we would just be love. As we were talking before, Elliot, about removing our egos and just being an egoless love, which for most people we don't achieve. Well, I've never achieved it. I've never seen anyone achieving it. Buddha did, you know. For example, Jesus did. All of these famous spiritual people did, who ironically then don't really need to have a relationship to learn to do that. But Eros is fickle, and what we need in the bridge, say there's two islands of love, and then in the middle there's this non-love bit where the problems often come up, is the morals, the ethics, where we have a mental map or pathways through problems that we've created to reflect the laws of love. How to mentally act as if with love when we're down on our love, when our car is out of gas, when it's out of petrol, when we're out of love, how to get to the next gas station, how to get to the next petrol station is a real art of being human.
That is some strong, profound stuff there, Julia. And I like what resonated with me when you mentioned Buddha and Jesus and all these other people who knew and lived love, but didn't have to be in a relationship to understand love. And a lot of us feel that we need to be in a relationship with somebody to know what love is, as opposed to probably being in a relationship with ourselves, which most people don't understand. And to know what love really feels like by working on you, as opposed to being in a relationship with somebody else. A lot of things were swirling around in my mind when you were talking and when Eve was talking as well, because when Eve was mentioning about the projection again, once again, and working on you and doing the inner work and being able to attract the right persons after, you may get the impression that when you start working on yourself and you realize, okay, I was getting all sorts of ups and downs and toxicity before, now I've started working on myself, I'm seeing the right set, kind of person coming towards me. It's not going to be all hunky-dory. You will have persons, from my experience, still struggling in, coming through that space that may not still fit. Does that mean, Eve, and I put this to Eve and to Julia as well, does that mean that even though I've worked on myself, and yes, the right kind of people that I'm looking for that I can mesh with and connect with may start coming towards me, or I may start attracting that. But there's still some that really a bit off. What does that mean about me? That I still have things to work on myself? How long will it continue? How long do I have to continue to work on it? How do I get to recognize?
Let me say this then, Kareem.
Yeah.
If we're talking about in a love relationship, what I have discovered for myself and with people that I've seen around me who have cultivated a greater self-awareness. Here I am in my bullshit. Here I am in my story. Here am I grasping at someone to fill me up. Here am I lying to myself about something. And you attract another person who also loves to do that work. You're not changing them, you're not forcing them, you're not making them. What you tend to do is that each person does their own work. So even if I'm with Bill over there and he hasn't put the toilet seat down and he keeps leaving the lid off the toothpaste,
Yeah.
I'm going to go, okay, I'm reacting now.
Yeah.
And if I talk to Bill in this reactive state, I'm going to create a drama. So I
Yeah.
have learned to read my signals and go, okay, I'm at 10. I need to come down to 2. How do I come down to 2? I give myself time and space so that when I'm ready to talk to Bill about the toilet seat and the toothpaste cover, how I'm speaking to him doesn't make him feel attacked. So he's not shut down. And how he then responds to me, because he's also the person who recognizes, oh, I'm getting defensive, I feel like I'm being criticized, because he's cultivated self-awareness. He can say, I can see that really bugs you, and I can see why it bugs you. And I'm not saying I'm going to be perfect, but I am saying it matters to me to compromise. And I say it matters to me to compromise. That's what self-awareness gives you. It doesn't remove the problems. It allows you to see when you're triggered. And then if you attract somebody else who also loves to cultivate self-awareness, you have problems, but how you navigate them are very, very different.
Love it. Love it, Eve. And I see Julia
Mm.
nodding and I see Elliot agreeing because what that is saying is how you react.
Loving.
Your level. Julia is sending
Mm.
love. Yeah, is how you react. You know,
Yes.
would you throw a tantrum? Would you throw a tantrum? You know you have grown. Are you going to throw a tantrum, throw yourself on the ground, beat up, fight up, throw a plate, everything, as opposed to saying, no, I'm not going to do that. I have, I've gone to a place now. I'm not supposed to behave like a 2-year-old. That is not not what I'm supposed to be doing, because if I do the 2-year-old behavior, then this is what I'm going to get back. So you're saying that reaction is what builds in you, but it starts within you. It starts
Mm.
within you. I'm seeing somebody making a comment here. Let me just show that. So that's Shirley. She's on listening to us. Thank you so much, Shirley. She's saying being human is a real art. She agrees. Thank you so much, Shirley, for that comment. It's a real art. I don't know if it's a science yet. I'll leave it to the people on this panel to tell you, but it's an art.
Well, I
Yeah.
just
And
want to say, my book is
yeah,
called Being the Strong Man a Woman Wants. And what I talk about is being strong is about controlling yourself. It's exactly what he was talking about.
Mm.
It's not being a slave to your impulses, but strength comes from controlling how you respond to situations. If you can't control your anger, that's
yes,
being weak. If you're you
yeah,
can it takes
yeah.
strength, inner strength to control yourself. That's really what my book is about when I talk about being strong. I see somebody's written a comment. I agree. Yes, it's all about being
Being
flexible,
flexible,
going from
going
10
from
to 2.
10 to 2. Yes.
That's
Yes.
that's it. And that's you choose how you respond to a situation. That's what makes us human, as opposed to animals that just react by instinct. And that's a challenge, and it's hard. And sometimes you're exhausted, you're irritated, and somebody just sets you off. And you just have to take a deep breath and say, "No, I'm not going to take this bait. I'm going to
Yeah.
control myself."
The
And it's good to
triggers.
think in advance how these because
Yeah.
often these situations reoccur. Think, what is the calm way that I'll handle a situation? How I talked earlier about think about what the other person needs to hear. So if you blow up, I tell people, think about when you see other people blowing up in public, yelling at their kids or yelling at their wife or yelling at other people. You think the guy looks like a fool. Well, that's how people see you when you blow up. It's like,
Yeah.
think about it. Think in advance of situations that reoccur. What's the calm way of saying what the other person needs to hear, so that they'll go along with it. They'll respond to you in the way you want them to respond. That's a
Yeah.
challenge, and that's what I talk a lot about in my book. Think in advance. What does the other person need to hear?
Yeah.
That's
But
strength.
but it also works too, as we talk about balance, because everything is all about balance. So Eve mentioned about the toilet seat and the toothpaste cover. It could be a glass in the sink. It could be anything. Okay, leaving a glass after you've cleaned up the kitchen. The person comes with a glass, take a sip of water and put that glass in and don't wash it. Okay, I mean, that could really send you in the madhouse to me. But those are your triggers. Now, if the person says to you, their reaction to you, you've asked them nicely to just wash up the glass or the cup, after, and just rest it down on the dish drainer. And they say to you, I am going to continue doing it, and I'm going to add another glass or cup, seeing that it needs company. What would be your reaction to that, Eve? You're
Who, me?
trying. You recognize the triggers. What would be your reaction to that?
I would ask myself why having that clean kitchen means so much to me. Because really, if I dig down deep and get to what the story behind that is it's something I've been trained to be, trained to do, trained to think. It's a way that I've been told I can get approval, maybe as a woman or as a good member of society. And if I release my conditioning around, this means that my kitchen isn't perfect, so therefore I'm not living up to the conditioning. I just get rid of the conditioning, because if I love that person, it's not worth it.
There's a really great way of getting rid of conditioning. And I've done this many times, and I love it, love it, love it. It's a free resource on the internet, and it's called Radical Forgiveness.
Yes.
And there's a worksheet, and you can work through it. And leaving the glass on the shelf or on the floor even, or wherever the glass has been left, will be triggering something within you that is not a new trigger. So it helps you go all the way back to the trigger, because maybe the other person cleaning the glass is not going to undo the trigger of what's actually inside. And often the trigger is something that happened years ago that is unresolved conflict with someone who might not even be present in the situation. And becoming aware, again, this awareness, as Eve was saying, becoming aware allows us to let go of that control, because it's a control thing, the house is so messy, I'm not going to find anything, I'm going to lose control of my life. Maybe
and
it's okay.
It's a reflection on you, and even Julia, you're absolutely right. You see that as a part of you. You have been trained to keep the kitchen clean, mop it, everything is spick and span, and so you feel if anything disrupts that, it's a reflection on you, how you are perceived. So all of that, and I love how you did that. Ask yourself, because a lot of women go through that, because Eve, that we are trained. Elliot would also know that men are trained for certain things as well. To be the man, don't cry, don't this, don't that. Don't show signs of weakness. And women supposed to be the ones to keep the house, manage the children. You are measured on that scale. Your value is placed based on performance in these things. And who put those things on you? Who trained you? It comes right back to your parents. I see Shirley was asking a while ago for Elliot's book. Elliot, would you give me the title of your book?
Yeah, the title is, here it is. It's called Being the Strong Man a Woman Wants, Timeless Wisdom on Being a Man. And it's available on Amazon as a paperback and an ebook. And it's also an ebook on Kobo and Apple Books. And if people want to write to me, my website is www.elliotkatz.com. It's ELLIOTTKATZ.com. And my email is Elliot, ELLIOTTRKATZ @AOL.com. And one of the things I have that I could send for free is a 30-page action plan where people can sort of ask themselves questions. It's meant for men. Ask themselves questions on how you sort of develop a plan of how they're going to change themselves. What's analyzing what's going on in their home, their relationship, and asking them what steps they need to take to change this situation. So if you email me, I'll send that to you for free. If you get the book, if you read the book, email me, tell me what you think. I'm happy to hear questions. I'm happy to help people. It's a lot cheaper than getting divorced. I've seen a lot of divorces and a lot of children from broken homes. It's very sad. And my mission really is to help men learn what they have to learn to improve their relationships, save their marriages, avoid divorce, reduce the number of kids from broken homes. It's a big job, but the comments I've gotten back from the book, people say this book has saved their marriage. So, try it. It's a lot better than getting divorced.
I want Julia's
Julia.
book on judgment, personally.
Oh, can I
Yes.
do a little bit of description as well? I'd like
Have
to
you
show
seen it, Corinne? It's great.
Yes. Eve,
Here
is
I've
there
got
anything you want
the
to
book.
share? I see
Perfect.
Julia showing hers. Perfect. Go ahead, Julia.
That's about how to avoid problems at the dishwashing situation. We've got yeah. This is my book on intimacy. This is about
Yes.
my personal journey through relationships. But we also have forgiveness, which I think
That
is
is
massive
important.
in relationships. I
Yes.
think that's very, very important.
Yes.
I won't show you them all, but then my last one, my favourite at the moment, is this is called While the Weeds Grow, and it's a book of love poetry. It's called Poems
Nice.
to Love. So
And all of them are available on Amazon, Julia, correct?
yeah, correct.
And remind me of your website again. It's on
It's
intimacy.
intenselypersonal.com.
Intenselypersonal.com. Nice.
Yeah. Thank you for letting me show you those books.
Of course. This is a place where you could do all the things that you want. I like how you're so comfortable sitting down. I love it. You're just so awesome. Eve, is there anything you want to share? Your website, what you're doing?
I'd like you to come and listen to my podcast, The Bajan Empress, who shares her woke views on relationships, news, and current affairs. And I also have bonus episodes where I interview wonderful people and tell you their story, their journey, and link it to our stories and our challenges in life. And we do it in a very entertaining way. Corinne's coming up very soon. Today I interviewed a wonderful lesbian couple who have this amazing quantum relationship coaching course. But the story that they share is mind-blowing. The synchronicities, the serendipities, the deep soul lessons that they learn, really exciting. And also you can go to my website, youdeservealifeyoulove.com, where I offer audio courses, meditations, and books to empower you, inspire you, and to increase your levels of self-love.
I love that. You guys are so awesome. It's unfortunate Judy couldn't join us. Yes, Shirley. Shirley is just making sure that she got this right. Hold on one second. Shirley is saying intensely, hold on.
Personal. Yeah, there's no space.
Intenselypersonal.com. Yeah.
I for some reason I can't leave a comment. I'm not sure why. Maybe I didn't log in. That's why I haven't logged in here. So it's it's exactly as Shirley says here. It's intensely no space. So it's intensely personal altogether.com.
Judy's actually watching. She says I'm getting off. I don't know what that means. But Judy, you're supposed to be behind here in the studio with us, baby. Oh. And Judy has been married for a very, very long time, since 1964. And she wanted to share her story about, how to have a long-lasting marriage and all the things. Somebody who's been married for so long compared to all of us. I who haven't been married. Elliot, who has and been divorced, and so on and so on. It would have been great to have her on. But don't worry, people. We're going to find a way to have Judy back on and bring all these people back on again, because this topic is clearly not something that is cut and dry. And I just love the way how it, shape shifted and moved from one to the next. And I hope it has provided value to each and every one of us. There is a question again here from Shirley for Eve. She said, please say your website again.
youdeservealifeyoulove.com, Shirley.
I'm trying to type it here. youdeservealifeyoulove.com. Yes. Yeah. So I put that there. youdeservealifeyoulove.com. Thank you so much. This is awesome. So persons have been watching, listening, and of course, this is live stream on Facebook and YouTube. So persons will be able to watch this as many times as they want. We have almost done 2 hours. I didn't even feel the 2 hours because we have been here just talking, laughing at each other, especially the book by Julia for the dishwashing people, like myself, who wants to, and it is, that is such a significant thing. And I think that is some of the things we need to look at, that conditioning, in order to determine our value. We start to question ourselves, because these are where the triggers are starting from. It's coming from a place of, I have been trained to do this. You are throwing a spanner in the wheel. That cannot happen. Don't throw any spanner. Don't have your clothes on the floor. Don't, all those things. Put the toilet seat down. Put the cap. Don't brush your teeth and make all the stuff spray on the mirror. And then you wonder if you're living with a child or a man or a woman. All these crazy dynamics, and you end up in the psychiatric chair or the psychologist chair or the divorce lawyer or in court because of toothpaste on the mirror, or the seat is down, or the glass in the sink, or you end up in the cemetery as a result of stress, and you're dead. And you can no longer have a living human relationship. People, it's not worth it. This is now that's love. And we want people to know how to recognize love. It starts with you, not anybody else. Stop blaming, stop shape-shifting, stop projecting. Stop it, okay? Deal with yourself first, and get over whatever your traumas. At least still interacting with others, because while you're interacting, you're learning at the same time and dealing with. I want to leave any final words with each person here, starting with Elliot, then Julia, and final with Eve. Let's round up with Elliot. Final words.
Well, I think one of the main messages that we discussed here today is really looking at yourself and seeing how you have to grow as a person and what you have to learn. That was my journey. My impression is it was everybody else's journey as well. And I really wrote this book to share what I learned with other people. At first I wrote it for myself, but one of the things I didn't mention was that it's actually been translated in 24 languages around the world.
Wow.
So it says to me that men need to learn this. It doesn't come naturally, that a lot of men need to learn this. So men need to look at themselves. So you have to learn what a man should be in a relationship. And that's my mission, to change the men of the world one man at a time.
Yay, Elliot, and you're here starting that. So you heard it here, right here, and now that's love. Julia, you're next.
I think it's as simple as just being kind. Be kind to yourself and be kind to the other. Be kind. Very, very difficult to do all the time. Be kind.
Yeah. Eve, final words.
Same, cultivate self-awareness, self-love, self-forgiveness. And when you do that, things will start to fall into place.
So we all have work to do. Thank you so much, Elliot, Julia, and Eve. Unfortunately, again.
Corinne, your final sentence?
Oh, yes.
My final sentence? God, there's a wedding next door and they didn't invite me. But anyway. My final sentence. Let me tell you, in my personal. It's a continuous work, learning about yourself. I'm still on that path. I still have a lot of conditioning, holding on to things, and I am questioning a lot. I am looking at myself a lot, and I would like persons to start doing a lot more questioning and a lot of self-reflection. And don't feel that if you break away, because you will think of it as a breakaway from what your parents told you, because you're going to come against resistance and you have to be prepared for that. resistance from your friends, resistance from your families, resistance from other people who think they know you better than you, and you just need to be good with you. Decide who you want to be or who you are and make that come out and be okay with it. Be okay with it. Don't matter the age, don't matter the stage, don't matter the relationship. You decide who you want to be and be okay with it. And so when you do interact with others, if it doesn't align with who you are, then you need to start making some decisions as to whether you want to move forward or end it or recalibrate the way you interact with those particular individuals. So just be good with you. And that's where I am personally now, continuously working on myself, continuously seeking the answers, continuously digging deep, and doing things like this, talking to people like you guys who can help me to be grounded and help me to not run, to not run. You know, like what Eve said a while ago, the question she would ask herself would be, why do I need to hold on to this whole kitchen thing? You know, why? That is significant. It's not a matter of somebody else might have said, why did the man do this? And why he can't wash the glass? And no, she brought it right back to me. And everything that we are saying here, it comes right back to the specific individual watching this. It's not to look at the person outside of you, it's to look at you. Those are my words to end this segment. 2 hours, people. Thank you so much. I enjoyed it. I hope the listeners and watchers enjoyed it. I hope those who will be listening and watching in the future will enjoy it and be able to comment. And I want you guys to engage because the engagement will still be going. The comments will still be there under the videos on YouTube and Facebook. I see Shirley saying something here. I don't know what she's saying. I guess she's liking. I don't know. But she's saying thanks.
Bye, Shirley.
Yes, Shirley and Dara. Yes.
Okay,
I thank you guys so much. I thank you guys so
Nice to
much.
meet
I really
you.
appreciate it. Yes,
Okay,
I really
nice to meet you.
appreciate you guys. All the best for Valentine's Day. So Elliot, you're my Valentine for today. Julia,
Okay,
you're my
thank you.
Valentine. And Eve, you're my Valentines for today. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Bye-bye.
Bye.
Bye.